got a fun episode planned for you guys today. Caleb Williams talks about now the DJ Moore trade in the Bears offseason, as well as the new standard and expectations that Ben Johnson has set for him. Plus, we're going to talk about the best case for each position that the Bears could go in round one at pick number 25, as well as Cole Kmet setting Super Bowl expectations for the Chicago Bears. We talk about all plus more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So it's been an offseason of us losing a lot of starters for the Chicago Bulls. Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker being gone, one of those guys as well being DJ Moore. The guy that I would say this, while DJ Moore's statistics didn't really jump out at you, like when you watch football games, you kind of understand football. The fact that DJ Moore was always ready, he didn't miss games, all that type of stuff. No matter if his number was called one time or 17 times during a game, he was always going to be ready when you called upon him to do something. And that's going to be quite a miss for the Chicago Bears, right? I've talked about this before. Me and the guys have talked about this. Like, you just have to – now somebody's going to have to step up and be that guy that can always make a play. Now, that could be Colston Loveland. It could be Rome Odunze. It could be Luther Burden. It could be somebody who maybe not is on the roster yet, but it is going to be a void that needs to be filled that's now gone with this roster. And Caleb Williams talked about that void that's created by DJ Moore's exit, where he said this. He's a pro. He's been that since he's been in the league. On the football side of it, obviously you're going to miss him being out there making plays for you, for me, for the team. On the other side, from football side, you understand there's a business side to it. You got to roll with the punches. You build up a relationship on a personal level. It sucks that he has to go. And it is going to be something that's felt right now. It's something that a lot of Bears fans kind of doubted and talked about and, question on if the Bears are actually going to move on from DJ Moore. But it was just business. It was the contract. It was just business that needed to be done. The Bears got a second-round pick for it. I think they're getting a hell of a talent with that second-round pick based off how this draft is. But DJ Moore meant a lot to this offense, and therefore he meant a lot as well to Caleb Williams. And I think sometimes when players don't necessarily have the biggest stat sheet, performance from you, that it's hard to kind of understand for some, right? Because again, and I don't say this as a knock, but like not every Bears fan is watching every play breakdown. Not every Bears fan is going to watch the all 22. Like they're not doing that to kind of see what players are doing to help, even free up other players that actually do get the stats. But DJ Moore was a major one for the Chicago Bears. And, we used him in the run game. We used him in the pass game. We used him in trick plays. We used everything. He was our second leading receiver with 682 yards. He played in all 17 games, the only receiver to play in all 17 games for the Chicago Bears. So, it's going to be a hit for the Bears. But you have guys like Rome Odunze with 661 yards. You got over 652 from Luther Burden, who played 15, Rome played 12. So you look at that over a 16, 17 game season, you can see the difference that how much of a step up those guys made. Colston Loveland, our leading receiver with 713 yards, he's in line for a big season because even though he played 16 games, he wasn't a factor. Like he wasn't a big part of the offense for probably the first month of the season, right? So you're seeing that and the growth that you can have there, and you're hoping that you're going to be able to live in those margins and do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears go out there and draft a wide receiver in one of the later rounds or something to take a shot at a guy. We'll see what happens there, but there is going to be a void there that's left by DJ Moore. And so, it is what it is, but the part of the reason the Bears did feel comfortable trading him is because of the glut of weapons that we have on the offensive side of the ball. We have a lot of them. You have DeAndre Swift. You have Kyle Monangai. You have Colston Loveland. You have Luther Burden. You have, Rome Odunze. You have Khalif Raymond, who you added in there, who I think in the slot is going to be able to do some stuff, and he understands Ben's offense. So, it's not that we are a lack now of firepower. We still have tons of firepower, but that consistency part of that was really DJ Moore's edge. That's what he brought as an edge to this team, or edge that he brought to the team, not as an edge, because somebody's going to be like, what do you mean, Hayes? But so it is what it is there. And it's good to hear that Caleb Williams, he understands that. And, we're going to see what's going to happen with it. But Caleb Williams wasn't done talking then. He also wanted to talk a little bit about the standard that Ben Johnson is setting for him and for the team. He said this: I know that's one of the first things we talked about when we first met. I guess 2 days after the game was, it's going to be more difficult. I'm going to push you more. And my answer is, yes, sir. Let's do it. And you love to hear that from your franchise quarterback. And you love to hear that he knows that Ben Johnson is going to push him, right? There's just no doubt about it. Like Ben Johnson, the trajectory of the Chicago Bears changed when Ben Johnson became the head coach here, right? Even with the great season that Caleb Williams had, we could have had the same exact roster. I don't think we would have got these same results out of Matt Eberflus because, Matt Eberflus's late game decision-making was trash, right? And his situational awareness as both a defensive play caller and as a head coach was absolutely trash. It was Ben Johnson who brought a lot to that. Also, the expectation that was set, a lot of that's based on the new coaching staff that we brought in. So, while Ben Johnson gets a lot of the talk of it, of course, because Ben Johnson is the head coach and he's the guy that's overseeing all of this. So he's going to get the lion's share of the acclaim and the praise and all that type of stuff. It's the staff overall that we have here. And so now going into year 2 under Ben Johnson, year 3 for Caleb Williams, you're damn right that all eyes are on how do we take this next step further? What is the next step of the evolution of this? And we talked a lot about what that means for Caleb Williams as a quarterback, and it comes down to getting that completion percentage up, taking the gimmies a little bit more, right? Those are the things that Caleb Williams has to do. And if you just talk about that, if Caleb Williams, who made some absolutely amazing plays that only Caleb Williams and a select few quarterbacks in league history could make, we saw those plays that he made, right? Against the wind, they play with DJ Moore, all that type of stuff. But at the same time, some of the stuff that we left on the table were what's supposed to be the give-me's. You give Caleb Williams those and, eliminate the drops or the misconnections with his over or under throws. You're talking about Caleb Williams possibly having a close to a 4,500 season passing, right? And so that's the next step of the evolution for Caleb. And so, hearing that, the coaches are back at Hallis Hall, they're getting ready to start drawing up. They're going to look at stuff and how they're going to execute once mini camps and stuff start back. Caleb Williams has to come into this. And for what's Caleb Williams worth, he's already done that. Setting up group workouts with him and his wide receivers, right? Doing that type of stuff. Those are things that help you get ahead of the game. Caleb is always said that he wants to be a great quarterback. Now you got to go out there and show it because your team had some really good success last year. And now it's about how do you, again, I typically I go build off on, I'm trying to pay respect again, because Ben Johnson and the impact that he's had on this team, I'm trying to change the way I talk in respect to our head coach because he's flat out said, we're not building off anything, but how do you make that next step, right? How do you get there? And that's what Caleb Williams is going to have to show this year. And so much of this is on Caleb as a quarterback to take that next necessary step and to get us to that next level because right or wrong, wins or losses, that's on Caleb Williams. That is going to be looked at, and that is a marker that a quarterback is judged on. Not just the number of passes that you throw or that you miss. It's also how does your team win with you on the football field? How do you lead your team to victory? So Caleb Williams with 3,942 yards last year, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Like, how do you now take a step further than that? Can we get a 35 touchdown season from Caleb Williams? Can we do something like that? Could it be something historic for the Chicago Bears that we see again from Caleb Williams? We shall see what's going to happen there. But in talking about the expectations for the team, Cole Kmet laid out some big expectations for the Chicago Bears with his words when he was asked about his expectations for the 2026 season, where Cole Kmet said this: last year is over with. The reality of the NFL is that there are 7 to 9 new playoff teams every year. This league, they want parity and they get their parity. We see that year in year. We're not excused from that. We're looking to not only get back to where we were last year, with the chance to go to the NFC Championship game, but to exceed that and go win the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not expecting the player to say anything less than that, right? Every player should have confidence coming into this of, hey, the goal here is a Super Bowl, because that is and when you really look at it, NFL career, no matter how long it is, it's really such a short period of time in your life. Even if you go on to play 13, 15 years, it's still a very short period in the grand scheme of life more times than not, right? Like, it's short. And so teams as well have short runs, right? So, the thing about the Bears, and the part of the reason why the Bears didn't make the big splash move this year and made more sustainable, moves that are, long-term, is that you want to be able to win sustainably. You don't want to have one of those seasons where, all right, we got to the NFC Championship. Now we're going to be bad for 2 years. We're going to try to get back there. We're going to have to rebuild. Like, that's what the one thing that Ryan Poles is trying to avoid. And so, but one thing that you hear from Caleb Williams' message, much like you heard from Caleb Williams and what we read with his comments, is that, again, everybody is buying into what Ben Johnson is saying. Nobody's saying, hey, we're going to build off our success, right? Like, just like I chose my words very intentionally and tried to not use build off of it, you could tell everybody with this team goes the way of Ben Johnson. And that is something that you can't overlook. When I talked about earlier, the impact that Ben Johnson had, it's not just on the young guys, the first, second years guys. That impact is felt and reverberated through the entirety of the roster. And you don't do that if your coaching staff is not all there to execute the same vision. If your coaching staff is not all on the same page about where and how they want to get to where they want to. Because, listen, every team wants to get to the same place. How you get there is very different for each team. And the Bears seem to be all bought in the how that Ben Johnson and this coaching staff have laid out for themselves. Ben Johnson's made it clear. He's made it clear that the start of the season is not starting over. It's not building off of. It's a complete start over, and you got to figure out what ways to win this season. And that's what Ben Johnson has laid out. That's what this team is all about getting to and doing. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that in the words. We're seeing that in the actions. We're seeing that in everything that we're seeing with this team. And now it just becomes about, all right, now let's execute it. Let's go out there and do it, and let's execute it. That's what training camp is going to be for. I expect a very intense training camp for the Chicago Bears. And, Ben Johnson is going to push these guys to take it a step further. Because, while we made some additions and some subtractions to the rosters, a lot of this roster is still the same. And so because of that, you need to look at this team and say, hey, listen, what can you give us that you didn't give us last year that is going to help us get closer and closer to our goal? And health is going to be a big part of that for a lot of the players, especially the cornerback crew. It's going to be that for some. But then you got guys as well that, you showed some stuff last year, but now that you have a year familiarity under the system, another year with this coaching staff, what do you bring that you didn't bring last year? And that's going to be looked at as Cole Kmet and everything, right? The Bears were one of those 7-9 new playoff teams last year. They just were, right? And they won our first division title since 2018, right? And won our first playoff game in almost 20 years. Now the question becomes about, do we take a step back or do we take a step forward? And I tell you what, I don't want to see us take a step back because I want to see this Bears team continue to run through whatever type of ceiling that people had for us and thought that they could put a cap on us. Because again, we're Chicago. We're going to get the doubt, all that type of stuff. But fuck you and your doubt, because we're going to show you something this season. And I firmly believe in that with my Chicago Bears team. But with that said, its draft is coming up in 2 days. Can't wait. And I want to talk about the 5 best options in round 1 for the Chicago Bears. At each position that we've had room, the 5 best players. Now, some of these guys are probably going to be off the board, which means that the Bears would have to trade up and get them. But let's talk about it. I think number 1 on this is going to be David Bailey, the edge out of Texas Tech, right? Bailey is the best pass rusher in this draft class, hands down. But the problem is he's not going to fall out of the top 5. I highly doubt he's going to fall out of the top 5. The guy is so explosive. He understands what to do. His first step leaves offensive linemen in the dust, right? And it's just what you have. Pairing him with Montez Sweat and what he's able to do would bring the speed, the power, everything that the Chicago Bears want this new defensive identity to be for this team. The problem is he's not going to be there. He's probably not going to be there at pick number 25, but I'm sure that let me not say probably. If he somehow falls to pick number 25, somebody paid somebody off, is the way that I'm looking at it. Like, there's just no way that David Bailey falls that far. This guy's just such a specimen and such a great pass rusher that he would be so perfect for the Chicago Bears offense. But the chance of him being there are slim to none. Just being 100% honest with you, it's slim to none. 6'3", 250 pounds, 14 and a half sacks last year's with 3 forced fumbles, 3 passes deflected as well. This guy is an absolute monster and a specimen. And I wish there was a way for the Chicago Bears to get him. And, if Ryan Poles were to be aggressive about trading up and getting him, it would be such a wild trade that the Chicago Bears made, but it's unlikely to happen. But he is definitely a dream for the Chicago Bears and many Chicago Bears fans, I would say as well. Next up, I'm going to talk about Monroe Freeling. This is the offensive tackle out of Georgia. Now, this is, again, I know Darius is shaking his fist at the podcast right now, right? But with Ozzie Trapillo expected to miss most, if not all, of the 2026 season, if the Bears wanted to do something crazy and go offensive tackle, Monroe Freeling out of Georgia is exactly that. Like, he would instantly become the best left tackle option for the Chicago Bears. Darnell Wright's the best overall tackle. But listen, it would be such a way to elevate this. Now, you'd have to ask yourself, what do you do with Ozzie Trapillo when he comes back? But he is the best pure left tackle in this draft class. He excels in run blocking and pass protection. He's just great from top to bottom when it comes down to it as what he does with his position. That's probably why he's not going to be there for the Bears. Even if he was there at number 25, while if the Bears were to take him, it would get so much blowback from Bears fans specifically, but it would be securing a position of need, and you would lock that in. Now, one would say it's not a big of a need with Ozzie Trapillo and when he does get healthy, but again, if you wanted a clear cut, a person that can start from you for day one, elevate your offensive line, Monroe Freeling is that guy in the first round for the Chicago Bears. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is that guy. Let's talk about a guard here, right? And again, these aren't positions that I think the Bears are going to go, but we've heard that the Bears can go guard, they can go tackle. At the best possible guy that you can get in there, one of the best interior offensive linemen maybe in this draft overall is Ala Vega Loan. I believe is how you pronounce it, the guard out of Penn State. I know I just completely murdered this guy's name. But hey, with you look at this guy, and with Drew Dahlman being retired, Joe Thuney kind of being more long in the tooth, if a guy like this would be there at number 25 and the Bears considered an offensive lineman in this draft, the way that he excels in pass blocking, he's a really good interior offensive lineman. He's the best in this draft class, but this is absolutely a dream. He's just not going to be there. It is what it is. And the Bears don't need to go guard anyway. But if you talk about a guard, he is the best option there in round one and maybe in this draft overall. Another dream for the Chicago Bears, and a guy that's unlikely to fall out of the top 10 is Caleb Downs, the safety. He is probably the best safety in this draft class, right? He can be a perfect starter, opposite Kobe Bryant, which we already brought in here. You look at with the departures of Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker, this guy can come in right away and elevate your defense. There are some times where Caleb Downs was considered the best overall football player in this draft, right? So, to be able to get somebody like that at the safety position, we're not only shore that position up for years. We're having Kobe Bryant, having Caleb Downs. It would bring everything that Dennis Allen likes schematically as well. He has the best ball hawk ability maybe in this draft class, and what that's able to do under Dennis Allen's defense would be amazing. But the chances of him falling outside of the top 10 are just so slim, right? And, would the Bears be aggressive about going up and get him? I think if they're going to be aggressive about moving up in this draft, it's going to be more so geared towards the edge. In my personal opinion, it probably should be geared more towards the edge. But, if he's definitely somebody that is worth trading up for, the question just becomes about it. Do the Bears also view that, or because of Daniel Thieneman and Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, who also could be perfect for the Chicago Bears system, do they feel like it's not the best use of assets to go out there and get that done? And then the cornerback option. I don't think the Bears are going to go corner early. I do think we have a lot of depth at corner, and they're going to want to evaluate these guys to see who's going to stay. You have second-year guy now, Zay Frazier, who didn't play last year, who's going to be coming back to the team. But Mansour Delane, the cornerback out of LSU, listen here. If the Bears needed a cornerback, this is the guy that you would absolutely see taken. He would instantly be the starter opposite Jalen Johnson, and Delane, Jalen Johnson, and Kyler Gordon would be one of the best starting cornerback crews that you can have in the game of football. He had 6 interceptions over the last 2 seasons. He would be perfect addition for the secondary, perfect for the Bears to go ahead and tell Tyreek Stevenson, thank you for your time. After the season, we'll holler at you, player. And that would be that. And then to still have Zay Frazier and Kyler Gordon as 2 guys in that cornerback room that can also do the versatility things that Dennis Allen likes. All that stuff is right there. And it would be amazing to see. But no, not to say that Delane may not be there. I just think that there are other positions that the Chicago Bears need to prioritize other than quarterback first. And part of that is safety. If you're going to address the defensive backfield, safety is the higher priority than cornerback. And I think you still got to absolutely go edge and D-tackle before you go cornerback as well. Maybe the Bears go cornerback in round 3 or 4, something like that. But I don't see them going corner before then personally. But Mansour Delane is such a perfect weapon for what the Chicago Bears defense wants to be. And I just think he'd be somebody that Bears fans would absolutely fall in love for, because he has that dog mentality. He has the ball hawk mentality. He's a hard hitter when it comes down to that. He can be used in run support as well. I think all of those things could be there. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen here overall for the Chicago Bears. But the draft is right around the corner. And we are going to have the answers to what the Bears do with pick number 25 on Thursday. And so we can eliminate the speculation and the questions on what he's going to do. But there's going to be a lot of that. And so I can't wait for the NFL draft. I think this is a perfect opportunity for the Bears to really make that next step. But it comes down to what we've talked about, right? Not just the dream draft targets, but also the draft strategy. We already know that Ryan Poles' approach is best player available. The Bears are unlikely to reach on a player because that's just not what they are. But the importance of hitting on these picks, especially in the premium rounds, the first 3 to 4 rounds of this draft, you have to hit on those picks. You do that year after year, that's when you build a contender. Let's see what Ryan Poles does with it this year. Again, I'm going to continue giving faith to Ryan Poles until he shows otherwise. So, the Bears made moves this offseason, and we got to make further moves in the draft. But now comes the real test. This season is going to be the real test. How do we stand out, and how do we make that next step up as a team? So let me know your guys' thoughts on that down below. Where do they have the Bears at as a team? Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can follow us at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.